22. Democritus and the Birth of Atomic Theory. Democritus finally returned, travel-stained, to his hometown, Abdera, Thrace. He expected warm hugs and a hot meal, but what he got was a summons. As it turned out, Abdera's local law was practically custom-made to prevent rich, wasteful heirs. Any descendant inheriting family property was obligated to properly preserve and use the assets, not squander them under the pretense of, "The world is so big, I want to see it." And what about Democritus? He had lavishly dedicated his entire inheritance, received over a decade ago, to global tourism. He had traveled everywhere, from the base of Egypt's Great Pyramid of Giza to the palace ruins of Persia, from the stupas of India to the site of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. The result? His fortune was exhausted, he had created no new value, and he even had to rely on his older brother for basic necessities. Now, the cold hand of the law had found him. He had to stand trial for his crime of squandering the ancestral property. The atmosphere in the courtroom should have been that of a solemn triple hearing, but who was Democritus? A genius. Genius radiates light like a spotlight on a stage. Wherever he went, it became his home turf. He completely turned the courtroom into the runway for his global travelogue and knowledge-sharing session. The moment he spoke, the judge, jury, and spectators were completely sidetracked. He eloquently described the magnificence of the Egyptian pyramids, which were the ancients' vanity projects, the mysterious legends of the Red Sea, the unsolved mysteries of ancient Greece, the grandeur of Persepolis, an ancient super project, and he even beautifully described the ruins of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, though only a remnant remained. The speech was breathtaking, a Greek version of an IMAX documentary. Everyone was utterly mesmerized, completely forgetting that the star of the show was actually the defendant who couldn't pay his rent. Finally, Democritus delivered a passionate summary, a complete match-ender. Among my contemporaries, I have wandered over the greater part of the earth. I have explored the most remote things. I have seen the most lands and nations, and I have heard the most knowledgeable people lecture. Among my contemporaries, I can draw geometrical figures and prove them, and no one can surpass me, not even the land measurers of Egypt. The court was thoroughly conquered. They unanimously agreed this man was not a wastrel, but a master of the highest wisdom. He was acquitted on the spot. Democritus later summarized the 3 essentials of wisdom. First, to think well. Second, to speak well. And third, to act rightly. Slightly delayed by the courthouse farce, Democritus knew his true annual assignment had to begin. For years, he had been dissatisfied with the blind guesses of previous philosophers regarding the origin of matter. Pythagoras claimed all things are numbers. Numbers are the source. Thales claimed all things are water. Water is omnipotent. The Milesian school claimed all things are air. Is Qigong the ultimate cosmic mystery? Democritus rolled his eyes. You guys only saw the surface phenomena of matter. It's time for some real, hardcore science to debut. His mission was to find the true source of matter. He cautioned himself and us. Don't let your tongue run ahead of your thinking. He took a wooden stick and began a thought experiment. Sawed it in half, then saw the remainder in half, then in half again. He reasoned that the stick must eventually reach a limit, a particle so small it couldn't be seen by the eye and could no longer be divided. Yet it would still be matter, retaining the characteristics of wood. Congratulations to human civilization. This microscopic particle was named by Democritus as the atom, atomos, meaning indivisible. He concluded all matter is composed of atoms. The atom is the most basic origin and structure of matter. Even more remarkably, he deduced, atoms come in various types. For example, hot atoms form fire, flowing atoms form water. Though he confused atoms and molecules, the direction was correct. Atoms are infinite in number. And the most mystical part, atoms themselves are in perpetual, never-ending motion. Heavens, how did he arrive at the conclusion that atoms are in perpetual motion purely through contemplation? Well, an optimized life doesn't need an explanation. Atoms alone weren't enough. They needed a place to exist and move, right? Democritus called this space the void. Note that this void is not non-existence, it's just what he called it. This immediately brings to mind his pilgrimage to India. In the Diamond Sutra, the Buddha, Shakyamuni, has a structural saying, "What is called X is not X, therefore it is named X." Applied to Democritus, this becomes, "What is called the void is not the void, therefore it is named the void." While these two civilizations finally achieved a spectacular metaphysical crossover. Democritus came incredibly close to what modern science has revealed about the essence of matter. He correctly guessed the number, variety, and size of atoms, especially their perpetual motion. However, modern science 2 millennia later still delivered a merciless numerical roast to him. Regarding number, Democritus said atoms are infinite. Modern chemistry uses numbers. 1 liter of gas at standard conditions contains 6.023 times 10 to the 23rd power molecules. This power is an astronomical number beyond imagination. Democritus's prophecy was eerily accurate. Regarding variety, Democritus said atoms have an infinite variety. Dmitry Mendeleev finally created the periodic table in 1869 CE, saying, "So far, we've only discovered 69 types, later increased to 118. Clearly, humanity still needed a long time to fill in the infinite varieties." As for the internal structure of the nested doll structure inside the atom, the nucleus, electrons, protons, neutrons, and various fundamental particles, that took another 2,000 years for physicists utilizing high-tech instruments and rigorous experiments to figure out. The fact that Democritus could reach this point purely through contemplation makes him the physics ceiling of his time, unsurpassed by anyone in his era or many subsequent ones. Although Democritus didn't solve the ultimate philosophical question, where do atoms come from, he left his mark on almost every field of knowledge of his time, philosophy, mathematics, medicine, and art, earning him the title of encyclopedic scholar. Tragically, most of his painstaking works, the sparks of genius, were lost. Yet history is always filled with dark humor. The pauper who was collectively ignored in Athens years ago and nearly tried for treason back at home was ultimately given a state funeral in Abdera, Thrace, upon his death around 370 BCE. See, only when a person takes their final bow does the world realize what it missed. Democritus streaked across the sky like a meteor, leaving behind a brilliant legacy, making his life worthwhile. However, let's not get too sentimental, because the Greek night sky still holds brighter stars. Just as Democritus faded from view, the master who marked the watershed of ancient Greek philosophy, Socrates, was stepping onto the stage with his famous dictum, "The greatest wisdom is knowing that you know nothing."